A racist store clerk denies service to a black woman, not realizing she's a local TV anchor. Imani Carter stepped out of her sleek black sedan and onto the bustling sidewalk of downtown Chicago. The city was alive with the hum of traffic, the chatter of pedestrians, and the crisp autumn air that hinted at the impending winter. As Imani approached the entrance of Elegance Couture, an upscale boutique renowned for its avant-garde styles and state-of-the-art technology, she couldn't help but feel a wave of excitement. Inside, the boutique was a blend of modern minimalism and high-tech sophistication. Mannequins adorned in the latest fashion lined the walls, and sleek digital screens displayed vibrant images of models strutting down virtual runways. However, what truly set the boutique apart was its augmented reality fitting system, a cutting-edge feature allowing customers to try on clothes virtually. Imani's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she approached the AR fitting station. She was here to find a dress for the annual charity gala, a high-profile event where the city's elite mingled and networked. As a prominent TV anchor known for her investigative journalism, Imani was no stranger to such gatherings. Just as she began exploring the digital catalog, a tall, lanky man with a neatly trimmed beard approached her. Ethan Reed, the store clerk, wore an air of casual indifference. His expression shifted slightly as he took in Imani's appearance, a subtle narrowing of the eyes. "Can I help you find something?" Ethan asked, his tone polite but edged with a hint of skepticism. Imani smiled warmly. "Yes, I'm looking for a gown for an upcoming event. I've heard great things about your AR fitting system." Ethan nodded, though his eyes lingered on her designer handbag and elegant attire, as if evaluating whether she belonged. "Of course. We have a wide selection. Have you shopped with us before?" Imani shook her head. "First time here, but I've been eager to try this technology." As Ethan turned to lead her towards the fitting station, Imani couldn't shake the feeling of being assessed. Not for her style, but for something more insidious. She had encountered prejudice before, subtle and overt, but it never ceased to disappoint her. "Here we are," Ethan said, gesturing to a sleek, glass-enclosed area where customers could browse through a holographic display of the boutique's collection. Imani stepped inside, her eyes widening with fascination as the holographic dresses shimmered before her. She reached out to swipe through the options, feeling like a child discovering a new world of possibilities. "This is incredible," she remarked, genuinely impressed by the technology. Ethan offered a thin smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Yes, it's quite popular with our clientele." As Imani continued to explore the virtual catalog, she noticed Ethan watching her closely. His gaze was no longer indifferent. It was scrutinizing, as if searching for an excuse to dismiss her. "I'm particularly interested in something elegant, perhaps in a deep blue or emerald green," Imani said, trying to focus on the task at hand. Ethan hesitated, glancing at her with a flicker of doubt. "You might find some of our pieces a bit pricey." Imani paused, meeting his gaze directly. There it was, the thinly veiled implication that she might not have the means to afford the boutique's offerings. Her patience waned, but she maintained her composure. "I'm sure I can manage," she replied evenly, her voice carrying a hint of steel. Ethan's expression remained unreadable, but the tension in the air was palpable. Imani continued to browse, determined not to let his bias overshadow her experience. As she selected a stunning emerald gown from the virtual rack, a notification appeared on the screen, indicating the dress's price. Imani barely glanced at it, accustomed to the high costs of designer fashion. However, Ethan seemed to take it as confirmation of his assumptions. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at another store," he suggested, his tone now openly dismissive. Imani's heart skipped a beat, not out of surprise, but out of disbelief at the blatant audacity of his words. She had faced discrimination before, but to experience it so directly in such a progressive city was a bitter reminder of the work still needed to combat prejudice. Deciding that silence would not serve her or anyone else facing similar discrimination, Imani took a deep breath. "Excuse me," she said, her voice calm yet firm. "Are you suggesting I can't afford to shop here because of my race?" Ethan's cheeks flushed slightly, a sign of his discomfort. "I didn't mean it like that," he stammered, though his eyes betrayed him. Imani reached into her handbag, retrieving her phone. "I'm going to record this interaction," she announced, her resolve hardening. "I think it'll be a great topic for my next segment on local news." Ethan's eyes widened in realization, and for a moment his facade of indifference faltered. "Wait, you're Imani Carter," she confirmed, activating the camera on her phone. "Anchor for Chicago Now, bless, Mom. And today I'm highlighting everyday racism in our community, starting with this boutique." The realization of his mistake hit Ethan like a cold wave. He had underestimated her, judged her based on preconceived notions, and now faced the repercussions of his actions. As Imani began recording, the power dynamics shifted, and the store clerk found himself under the scrutinizing lens of the very media he had unwittingly provoked. Imani narrated the encounter for her viewers, describing the boutique's innovative technology and the unfortunate bias she had faced. Her voice was steady, her words chosen carefully to convey the gravity of the situation without sensationalism. Other customers in the boutique began to notice the unfolding scene, some discreetly recording on their phones. The store's ambient music faded into the background as the attention of the room centered on Imani and Ethan. "Is this how you treat all your customers?" Imani asked, locking eyes with Ethan, who now seemed smaller, his bravado reduced to nervous fidgeting. Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but words failed him. The realization that his actions could have consequences beyond this moment was dawning on him. Imani lowered her phone slightly, giving Ethan one last chance to redeem himself. "Would you like to apologize, or should I continue?" Feeling the weight of the stares around him and the inevitability of his situation, Ethan swallowed hard. I'm sorry," he mumbled, though his voice lacked conviction. Imani nodded, ending the recording. "Thank you," she said, though the sincerity of her gratitude was reserved for the lesson learned rather than the apology itself. As she turned to leave, the boutique manager, a sharply dressed woman with an air of authority, approached them. Having witnessed the incident from afar, she wore a look of concern and urgency. "Ms. Carter, I deeply apologize for this misunderstanding," the manager said, her voice genuine. "We value all our customers and do not condone this behavior." Imani offered a polite smile, aware of the manager's attempt to mitigate the damage. "I appreciate your words, but actions speak louder. I hope this is a learning opportunity." With that, Imani left the boutique, her head held high. The encounter, though unpleasant, had reinforced her commitment to using her platform to address injustices, no matter how small they might seem. As she walked back to her car, she felt a surge of determination. The upcoming segment on her show would not only highlight this incident, but also spark a broader conversation about racism in everyday life. On her drive back to the studio, Imani replayed the interaction in her mind. Her phone buzzed with notifications. The video had already started to gain traction on social media, shared by those who had witnessed it firsthand in the boutique. Messages of support began pouring in from her friends and colleagues, affirming her decision to stand up against the discrimination she faced. Arriving at the studio, Imani felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was greeted by her producer, Lisa Chen, who had already seen the video making rounds online. "Imani, this is going viral," Lisa said, her voice a mix of concern and excitement. "Are you ready to talk about it on air?" Imani nodded, her resolve unwavering. "Absolutely. We need to address this head on." As she settled into her office to prepare for the segment, Imani reflected on the broader implications of her experience. She knew that her platform had the power to affect change, to open eyes and challenge prejudices that persisted in society. Her thoughts drifted to the countless others who faced similar discrimination, but didn't have the means to confront it publicly. This segment would be for them too, a rallying cry for empathy and equality. The studio buzzed with activity as the team prepared for the evening broadcast. Imani rehearsed her lines, her mind focused on articulating not just the details of her encounter, but the systemic issues it represented. She wanted to foster a dialogue, to encourage viewers to reflect on their own biases in the ways they could contribute to a more inclusive community. As the cameras rolled and the broadcast went live, Imani felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. She recounted the events at the boutique, the camera capturing her composed yet passionate demeanor. She spoke about the need for awareness and change, urging viewers to recognize and challenge discriminatory behavior whenever they encountered it. The segment ended with a call to action, inviting viewers to share their own experiences and join the conversation online. As the broadcast concluded, Imani felt a sense of accomplishment. She had taken a stand, turned a negative experience into a platform for positive change. Back in her office, Imani's phone buzzed continuously with notifications. Her social media was flooded with comments, messages of support, and shared stories from viewers who had faced similar situations. Each message resonated deeply with Imani, reinforcing her belief in the importance of speaking out. She knew that for every voice that was heard, there were countless others that remained silent, overshadowed by fear or resignation. Imani took a moment to respond to a few of the messages, thanking her followers for their support and encouraging them to continue sharing their experiences. The outpouring of solidarity was overwhelming, and it was clear that her story had struck a chord with many. As the evening wore on, Imani decided to call her best friend, Jasmine, to discuss the day's events. Jasmine had always been her confidant, offering both perspective and humor in equal measure. "Hey, Imani, I saw the video," Jasmine said as soon as she picked up. "You handled it like a pro. That guy didn't know who he was messing with." Imani chuckled, feeling a wave of gratitude for Jasmine's unwavering support. "Thanks, Jazz. It was surreal, honestly. I mean, you hear about these things happening, but experiencing it firsthand, I can only imagine," Jasmine replied, her tone turning serious. "I'm proud of you for standing up and turning it into something positive. It's not easy." "Thanks," Imani sighed, feeling the weight of the day's events more acutely now that she had a moment to breathe. "I just hope it makes a difference, you know?" "It will," Jasmine assured her. "You've already started a conversation, and that's huge. Plus, you're reaching so many people with your show. Keep pushing forward." Imani nodded, feeling reinvigorated by their conversation. "You're right. We've got to keep the momentum going." After hanging up, Imani took a deep breath and reflected on the power of community and the importance of standing together against prejudice. The solidarity she felt from her viewers, friends, and colleagues was a reminder that change was possible, even if it came one small step at a time. The next morning, as Imani prepared to head into the studio, her phone rang with an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before answering, curious about who might be calling. "Hello, is this Imani Carter?" a hesitant voice asked on the other end. "This is she," Imani replied, curious about the caller's identity. "Hi, Imani. My name is Sarah, and I'm the regional manager for Elegance Couture," the woman said, her voice a mix of professionalism and concern. "I saw the video you posted, and I wanted to personally apologize for the way you were treated in our store." Imani listened carefully, appreciative of the outreach, but aware that actions spoke louder than words. "Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you reaching out." "We're taking this matter very seriously," Sarah continued. "The employee involved has been suspended pending further investigation, and we're implementing mandatory diversity and sensitivity training for all our staff." Imani's interest peaked at the mention of tangible steps being taken. "I'm glad to hear that. It's important that incidents like this are addressed head-on." "Absolutely," Sarah agreed. "We value all our customers and are committed to creating an inclusive environment. If there's anything else we can do to make this right, please let me know." Imani considered Sarah's offer, recognizing the genuine effort to rectify the situation. "Thank you, Sarah. I think ensuring this doesn't happen again is a good start." After the call ended, Imani felt a sense of cautious optimism. The boutique's response was a step in the right direction, but she knew that real change required ongoing effort and commitment. Her role as a journalist and public figure gave her the platform to hold businesses and individuals accountable, and she was determined to continue using it for good. Later that day, Imani met with her producer, Lisa, to discuss the impact of the segment and the next steps for their coverage. As they reviewed viewer feedback and engagement metrics, it was clear that the story had resonated widely. "Imani, the response has been incredible," Lisa said, her excitement palpable. "We should consider doing a follow-up piece, maybe a series on discrimination in different sectors." Imani nodded, her mind already racing with ideas. "Absolutely. There's so much to explore. Education, healthcare, employment. We can bring in experts, share more personal stories." "Exactly," Lisa agreed, jotting down notes as they brainstormed. "And maybe we can include ways people can get involved and make a difference in their own communities." Their conversation flowed seamlessly, fueled by a shared passion for meaningful journalism. Imani felt invigorated by the prospect of expanding the coverage, knowing that their work could inspire real change and awareness. As the day drew to a close, Imani reflected on the whirlwind of events that had unfolded since her visit to the boutique. What had begun as a routine shopping trip had evolved into a powerful catalyst for dialogue and action. She felt grateful for the opportunity to use her voice and platform to advocate for justice and equality. Before leaving the studio, Imani took a moment to glance at the city skyline through her office window. The lights of Chicago twinkled against the darkening sky, a reminder of the vibrant, diverse community she was part of. Though the path to progress was often challenging, she knew that every step forward mattered. With renewed determination, Imani gathered her things and headed out, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. She was driven by the belief that change was possible, and that, together, they could create a more inclusive and equitable world, one story at a time. The morning sun filtered through Imani Carter's apartment, casting a warm glow over the wooden floors. She sipped her coffee, scrolling through the latest reactions to her segment on Chicago Now. Overnight, her inbox had filled with an overwhelming mix of support and backlash. While many praised her courage in confronting the discriminatory behavior, others questioned her motives, accusing her of seeking attention. Imani was no stranger to criticism, but the negative comments stung more than she anticipated. She knew that tackling deeply ingrained issues like racism would provoke strong reactions, yet it was disheartening to see how some chose to dismiss her experience. As she prepared for another day at the studio, her phone buzzed with a message from her producer, Lisa Chen. Meeting at 9 a.m. to discuss the follow-up series. Let's keep the momentum going. Imani appreciated Lisa's enthusiasm. The idea of expanding their coverage on discrimination excited her, but she felt the weight of a responsibility that came with it. There was so much to address, and she wanted to ensure their reporting would be impactful. Arriving at the studio, Imani was greeted by the familiar hustle and bustle of the newsroom. Screens flickered with breaking news, and journalists buzzed around in a flurry of activity. Imani took a deep breath, feeling at home amidst the chaos. The editorial meeting kicked off promptly, with Lisa leading the discussion on the next steps for their series. Thanks to Imani's segment, we're seeing a lot of engagement on this topic. Lisa began, her gaze sweeping across the room. We want to dive deeper into discrimination across various sectors: education, healthcare, employment. Each piece should focus on real stories and tangible solutions. The team exchanged ideas, brainstorming ways to approach each topic. Imani listened intently, her mind racing with possibilities. She felt a surge of purpose, knowing they were on the cusp of something significant. As the meeting concluded, Lisa pulled Imani aside. "Great job in there," she said, her voice filled with encouragement. "I know this isn't easy, but you're making a real difference." Imani smiled, grateful for Lisa's support. "Thanks, Lisa. I'm just hoping we can keep the conversation going and inspire some change." "Absolutely," Lisa replied. "And don't let the naysayers get to you. You're doing important work." Reassured, Imani returned to her office to begin planning her next story. She wanted to ensure that each piece was not only informative, but also actionable, offering viewers ways to get involved and make a difference. As she delved into research, Imani received an unexpected phone call from an unfamiliar number. Curious, she answered, only to be greeted by a voice she hadn't anticipated. "Imani Carter? This is Ethan Reed." Imani's surprise quickly turned to curiosity. "Ethan? From Elegance Couture?" "Yes," Ethan replied, his voice tinged with nervousness. "I wanted to apologize again for how I acted. It was unprofessional and wrong, and I've been doing a lot of thinking since then." Imani listened carefully, unsure of Ethan's motives. "I appreciate the apology," she said cautiously, "but what made you decide to reach out?" Ethan hesitated, then continued. "After you left, I realized how deeply ingrained my biases were. It was a wake-up call. I've started attending workshops on diversity and inclusion, and I'm trying to educate myself." Imani felt a flicker of hope. "That's a good start, Ethan. It's important to acknowledge and address these issues." "I know I have a long way to go," Ethan admitted, "but I wanted to thank you for calling me out. It pushed me to change." Imani appreciated Ethan's honesty, recognizing the courage it took to confront one's own prejudices. "I'm glad to hear that," she replied. "We all have a role to play in making the world a better place." After the call ended, Imani reflected on their conversation. Ethan's transformation, albeit in its early stages, was a testament to the impact of speaking out. It reminded her that change, while often slow, was indeed possible. Later that day, Imani received a call from Sarah, the regional manager at Elegance Couture. Imani, I wanted to let you know that we're implementing new policies to ensure inclusivity in all our stores, Sarah explained. We're also partnering with local organizations to support diversity initiatives. Imani was impressed by the proactive steps the boutique was taking. That's great to hear, Sarah. Thank you for keeping me informed. We're committed to making a positive change, Sarah assured her. And if you're open to it, we'd love for you to be involved in some of our initiatives. Imani considered the offer, recognizing the potential for collaboration. I'd be happy to discuss it further, she said. Let's set up a meeting. As the day unfolded, Imani's determination to continue her work only grew stronger. Each conversation, each story, reinforced the importance of their mission. The momentum was building, and she was eager to see where it would lead. That evening, Imani sat in her living room, jotting down notes for the upcoming series. She wanted to ensure each segment not only highlighted the issues, but also celebrated the progress being made. It was crucial to strike a balance, to inspire hope while acknowledging the challenges that remained. Suddenly, a loud knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Startled, Imani set down her notebook and crossed the room to answer it. As she opened the door, she was met by a man she didn't recognize. A reporter from a rival network, microphone in hand. "Imani Carter, can I have a moment of your time?" the reporter asked, his camera crew standing behind him. Caught off guard, Imani hesitated. "I'm sorry, but I wasn't expecting visitors," she replied, her guard up. The reporter pressed on, eager for a scoop. "We've received reports of backlash against your segment and wanted to get your response. Some believe you're using this platform for personal gain." Imani felt a surge of frustration, the accusations stinging more than she anticipated. "My intention has always been to promote awareness and change," she replied evenly. "The focus should be on the issues at hand, not on me." Undeterred, the reporter continued probing, but Imani remained firm. "I appreciate your interest, but I have nothing more to add at this time," she concluded, closing the door gently but decisively. As she returned to her living room, Imani felt the weight of the scrutiny that came with her role. It was a reminder of the challenges she faced, but also of the importance of staying true to her mission. Determined not to let the encounter shake her resolve, Imani returned to her notes, her mind racing with ideas for the series. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready to face the challenges head-on. The next morning, Imani arrived at the studio, her focus unwavering. As she prepared for the day's broadcast, she received a text from Jasmine. "Keep your head up, you're doing amazing work." Imani smiled, the words of encouragement bolstering her spirit. With friends like Jasmine by her side, she knew she could weather any storm. The day's broadcast went smoothly, with Imani delivering the news with her usual poise and professionalism. As the cameras cut to commercial, Lisa approached her with a knowing look. "You're doing great, Imani," Lisa said, her voice filled with admiration. "This series is going to be incredible." "Thanks, Lisa," Imani replied, grateful for her unwavering support. "I just hope it makes a difference." "It already is," Lisa assured her, "and I can't wait to see where it takes us." As the day drew to a close, Imani felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges she faced had only strengthened her resolve, and she was ready to continue the fight for justice and equality. That evening, as she walked through her neighborhood, Imani reflected on the journey ahead. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to keep pushing forward, inspired by the belief that every story, every conversation, could bring them one step closer to a more inclusive world. As the sun set over the city, Imani felt a sense of calm wash over her. She was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, driven by the knowledge that she was making a difference, one story at a time. The next day dawned with a promise of new opportunities. Imani arrived at the studio early, eager to continue planning the follow-up series on discrimination. Her inbox was filled with messages from viewers sharing their experiences, each story a testament to the pervasive nature of prejudice. Imani read through the emails, feeling a mix of anger and determination. The personal accounts were both heartbreaking and inspiring, a stark reminder of the importance of their work. She knew that each story they shared could be a catalyst for change, encouraging others to speak out and take action. As the newsroom buzzed to life, Imani met with Lisa and the rest of the team to finalize their approach for the series. They discussed potential interviewees, experts who could provide insight into the systemic issues at play, and community leaders who were making a difference. "We need to make sure we're covering all angles," Lisa said, her eyes scanning the room. "Each segment should offer solutions and highlight those who are driving change." Imani nodded in agreement. "We should also include ways for viewers to get involved, resources, organizations, anything that encourages them to take action." The team worked diligently, their collective energy focused on creating impactful content. Imani felt a surge of pride as they brainstormed ideas, each member contributing their expertise and passion to the project. As the day progressed, Imani received a call from Sarah at Elegance Couture. "Imani, I wanted to update you on our progress," Sarah began. "We've partnered with several local organizations to support diversity initiatives, and we're hosting a community event next month to raise awareness." Imani was impressed by the boutique's commitment to change. "That's wonderful, Sarah. I'm glad to see you're taking concrete steps." "We'd love for you to be involved," Sarah continued. "Your story inspired us to take action, and we think your presence would be invaluable." Imani considered the offer, recognizing the potential to amplify their message. "I'd be honored to participate," she replied. "Let's discuss how I can help." As the conversation ended, Imani felt a renewed sense of purpose. The partnership with Elegance Couture was an opportunity to extend their reach and engage more people in the fight for equality. Later that evening, Imani joined Jasmine for dinner at their favorite restaurant. As they settled into their booth, the familiar aroma of spices and grilled meats filled the air. "How's the series coming along?" Jasmine asked, her eyes filled with curiosity. "It's going well," Imani replied, her voice tinged with excitement. "We're getting a lot of great feedback, and I'm hopeful it will inspire some real change." Jasmine smiled warmly. "I'm sure it will. You're doing amazing work, Imani. I'm so proud of you." Imani felt a wave of gratitude for Jasmine's unwavering support. "Thanks, Jazz. It means a lot to have you by my side." They chatted over dinner, their conversation flowing easily as they caught up on each other's lives. Jasmine's laughter was infectious, and Imani felt a sense of camaraderie that bolstered her spirits. As they left the restaurant, Imani's thoughts turned to the road ahead. The challenges she faced were daunting, but with friends like Jasmine and a dedicated team at the studio, she knew they could make a difference. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Imani and her team worked tirelessly to produce the series, each segment uncovering new facets of discrimination and highlighting the efforts of those fighting for change. The response from viewers was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing gratitude for the platform Imani had provided. The stories they shared were powerful, a testament to the resilience and determination of those who refused to be silenced. As the series gained traction, Imani received an invitation to speak at a national conference on media and social justice. The event was an opportunity to share her experiences and insights with a larger audience, and she accepted eagerly, recognizing the potential to inspire others. On the day of the conference, Imani stood before a room filled with journalists, activists, and community leaders. As she spoke about her journey and the importance of using media to drive change, she felt a sense of fulfillment that reaffirmed her commitment to the cause. The conference was a success, and Imani returned home energized and inspired. The connections she had made were invaluable, and she was eager to explore new collaborations and initiatives. As the series drew to a close, Imani and her team celebrated their success with a small gathering at the studio. The atmosphere was one of camaraderie and accomplishment, a testament to the hard work and dedication of each member. Imani raised a glass, her voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you all for your incredible work and support. This series wouldn't have been possible without each of you, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished together." The team cheered, their spirits high as they reflected on the impact of their work. The series had sparked important conversations and inspired many to take action, and they were determined to continue the fight for justice and equality. As the evening wore on, Imani felt a sense of contentment and purpose. The challenges they faced were far from over, but she was ready to face them head-on, driven by the belief that change was possible and that, together, they could make a difference. Imani stood in the center of her bustling newsroom, the hum of conversation and the clatter of keyboards forming the soundtrack of her life. The series on discrimination had concluded, but its impact reverberated through the halls of Chicago now. The stories had sparked a citywide dialogue, and Imani had become a central figure in the ongoing conversation about race and equality. However, with increased visibility came increased scrutiny. Not everyone was pleased with the spotlight she had shown on systemic issues, and Imani soon found herself facing new challenges. One afternoon, as Imani reviewed notes for an upcoming segment, Lisa approached her with a concerned expression. "Imani, there's something you need to see," she said, handing over a tablet. Imani glanced at the screen, her brow furrowing as she read an article from a local tabloid. The headline blared, "Anchor's Agenda, Is Imani Carter Exploiting Racism for Ratings?" The article accused her of sensationalizing issues and suggested that her motives were driven by a desire for fame and attention. Imani felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had expected backlash, but the personal attack stung. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, handing the tablet back to Lisa. "Ignore it," Lisa advised, her voice steady. "They're just trying to stir up controversy. Anyone who knows you understands your intentions are genuine." Imani nodded, grateful for Lisa's support, but the article lingered in her mind. She had always been dedicated to her work, driven by a desire to make a positive impact. The suggestion that her motives were anything but sincere was unsettling. Determined to stay focused, Imani returned to her work, but the article's accusations gnawed at her. As the day wore on, she received several messages from friends and colleagues offering support, but also questions about the tabloid's claims. The newsroom atmosphere was tense as Imani prepared for her evening broadcast. She could sense the curiosity among her colleagues, the unspoken questions hanging in the air. As she stepped in front of the camera, she took a deep breath, reminding herself of her commitment to truth and integrity. The broadcast went smoothly, but Imani couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Afterward, she retreated to her office, seeking solace in the familiar surroundings. As she sat at her desk, her phone buzzed with a call from Jasmine. "Hey, Imani?" Jasmine's voice was a balm to her frayed nerves. "I saw the article. Don't let it get to you. You're doing important work, and that's what matters." "I know," Imani replied, trying to sound confident. "It's just frustrating. I never expected things to get so personal." "It's because you're making waves," Jasmine said. "People are paying attention, and not everyone is comfortable with that. But you've got this." Imani sighed, feeling a bit lighter after their conversation. "Thanks, Jazz. I needed to hear that." The next day, Imani arrived at the studio, determined to move past the distractions. However, as she settled into her routine, she received an unexpected message from Sarah at Elegance Couture. The boutique had been receiving backlash for their partnership with Imani, with some customers threatening boycotts. Imani felt a pang of guilt. She had hoped their collaboration would be a positive force for change, but it seemed to have drawn unwanted attention. She called Sarah immediately, worried about the impact on the boutique. "Sarah, I'm so sorry about the backlash," Imani began, her voice filled with concern. "I never wanted this to affect your business negatively." Sarah's voice was reassuring. "Imani, don't worry. We anticipated there might be some resistance, but we're committed to this partnership and to the changes we've implemented." Imani was relieved to hear Sarah's resolve. "I appreciate your support. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help." "We're in this together," Sarah replied, "and we're not backing down." The conversation bolstered Imani's spirits, reminding her of the importance of standing firm in the face of adversity. Still, the pressure of the situation weighed heavily on her, and she knew she needed to address the growing tension. As she prepared for another day of broadcasting, Imani decided to confront the tabloid's accusations head-on. She crafted a thoughtful response, emphasizing her dedication to journalism and her commitment to fostering meaningful conversations about race and equality. The statement was released through the network's official channels, and Imani felt a sense of relief as she watched the supportive responses pour in. Viewers and colleagues rallied around her, expressing admiration for her courage and integrity. That evening, as Imani sat in her living room, she reflected on the challenges she had faced. The path she had chosen was fraught with obstacles, but she was determined to persevere. Her work was too important to be derailed by negativity. As the days passed, the initial backlash began to subside, replaced by renewed interest in the stories Imani had brought to light. The dialogue she had sparked continued to grow, with community leaders and organizations joining the conversation. Imani found solace in the progress being made, but she knew there was still much work to be done. The fight for equality was ongoing, and she was ready to continue using her platform to advocate for change. One morning, as Imani arrived at the studio, she was greeted by Lisa, who wore an expression of excitement. "Imani, you'll never guess who's agreed to an interview," she said, barely able to contain her enthusiasm. Imani raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Who?" "Mayor Thompson," Lisa revealed. "He wants to discuss the city's initiatives on tackling discrimination and inequality." Imani's eyes widened in surprise. An interview with the mayor was a significant opportunity to amplify their message and highlight the efforts being made at the highest levels of government. "That's incredible," Imani replied, her mind already racing with potential questions. "When can we schedule it?" Lisa grinned. "He's available next week. Let's make it happen." The prospect of interviewing the mayor energized Imani, reminding her of the power of journalism to affect change. As she prepared for the interview, she focused on crafting questions that would challenge the mayor to address the systemic issues facing the city. The day of the interview arrived, and Imani felt a familiar rush of adrenaline as she sat across from Mayor Thompson in the studio. The cameras rolled, and Imani began the interview with a series of pointed questions about the city's efforts to combat discrimination. The mayor spoke candidly about the challenges they faced and the initiatives they had implemented. He acknowledged the role of media in raising awareness and expressed his commitment to working with community leaders to drive change. Imani listened intently, her questions probing deeper into the complexities of the issues. The conversation was engaging and insightful, offering viewers a comprehensive look at the steps being taken to address inequality. As the interview concluded, Imani felt a sense of accomplishment. The dialogue had been productive, and she was hopeful that it would inspire further action and collaboration. The following days were a whirlwind of activity as the interview aired and sparked new discussions across the city. Imani received messages of support from viewers, colleagues, and community leaders, all expressing gratitude for her dedication to the cause. Despite the challenges she had faced, Imani felt more determined than ever to continue her work. The path ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to face whatever obstacles lay in her way, driven by the belief that change was possible and that her voice could make a difference. In the days following her interview with Mayor Thompson, Imani Carter felt a renewed sense of energy and purpose. The dialogue surrounding her series had expanded beyond the confines of the newsroom, permeating the broader community and inspiring change in unexpected places. However, the increased attention also brought new challenges. The scrutiny Imani faced intensified, with detractors continuing to question her motives and the impact of her work. Online forums buzzed with debates, some supportive and others critical, each voice contributing to the cacophony of opinions that surrounded her. One afternoon, as Imani prepared for her next broadcast, she received an urgent message from Lisa. "We need to talk," it read, prompting Imani to make her way to Lisa's office. As she entered, she found Lisa pacing, her expression a mix of concern and determination. "Imani, we've received word that a group is planning a protest outside the studio," Lisa said, her voice tinged with worry. "They're claiming that your coverage is biased and inflammatory." Imani felt a chill run down her spine. She had expected backlash, but the prospect of a protest was unsettling. "What should we do?" she asked, her mind racing with the implications. "We're increasing security and working with the police to ensure everyone's safety," Lisa assured her. "But I wanted you to be aware before it escalates." Imani nodded, grateful for Lisa's proactive approach, but the news weighed heavily on her. She had always been committed to truth and integrity in her reporting, and the idea that her work was being misconstrued was troubling. Determined to stay focused, Imani returned to her office, but the looming protest was hard to ignore. She knew that her work was important, that the stories she told had the power to inspire change, but the constant scrutiny was exhausting. As the day of the protest approached, Imani found herself grappling with a mix of emotions. She was proud of the impact her series had made, but the challenges she faced were a stark reminder of the resistance that often accompanied progress. On the morning of the protest, Imani arrived at the studio to find a crowd gathered outside. Some carried signs decrying her coverage, while others voiced support, chanting slogans of solidarity and equality. Imani watched from a distance, her heart heavy with the weight of the situation. She knew that the protest was a reflection of the polarized views her work had elicited, but it was difficult to see her intentions questioned so publicly. Inside the studio, the atmosphere was tense as the team prepared for the day's broadcast. Imani took a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. She reminded herself of the importance of her work, of the countless voices she had amplified and the stories she had told. As the broadcast began, Imani addressed the protest directly, speaking candidly about her commitment to truth and justice. She reiterated the importance of open dialogue and the need for empathy and understanding in the face of division. Her words were met with a flood of responses, both supportive and critical, but Imani felt a sense of calm as she spoke. She knew that she couldn't control how others perceived her work, but she could remain true to her values and continue advocating for change. After the broadcast, Imani received a call from Sarah at Elegance Couture. "Imani, I wanted to let you know that we're standing with you," Sarah said, her voice filled with conviction. "The work you're doing is important, and we're proud to be your partner." Imani felt a surge of gratitude for Sarah's unwavering support. "Thank you, Sarah. It means a lot to have allies like you." As the day wore on, Imani received messages from friends, colleagues, and viewers, all expressing their support and encouragement. The protest had drawn attention to her work, but it had also rallied those who believed in her mission. That evening, as Imani reflected on the day's events, she felt a sense of resilience and determination. The challenges she faced were daunting, but she was ready to continue fighting for justice and equality. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity as Imani and her team continued their coverage, delving deeper into the issues of race and discrimination. The series had sparked important conversations, and Imani was determined to keep the momentum going. As the series drew to a close, Imani felt a sense of accomplishment. The work they had done was meaningful, and the impact was tangible. She had faced adversity, but she had also inspired change, and that was a victory in itself. As she prepared for the final broadcast, Imani took a moment to reflect on the journey she had undertaken. The road had been challenging, but she had remained true to her values and her mission. As the cameras rolled, Imani spoke with conviction, her voice steady and clear. She thanked her viewers for their support and encouraged them to continue the conversation, to keep fighting for a more just and equitable world. As the broadcast ended, Imani felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had faced the challenges head-on, and she was ready to continue the fight for justice and equality, one story at a time. The city was shrouded in the golden hues of autumn as Imani Carter walked through the park, her mind awash with the events of the past few months. The series on discrimination had concluded, but its impact continued to reverberate through Chicago. Imani had become a prominent figure in the discussion on race and equality, and with that role came both challenges and triumphs. As the leaves crunched beneath her feet, Imani reflected on the journey she had undertaken. The path had been fraught with obstacles, from protests to personal attacks, but she had persevered, driven by a steadfast commitment to truth and justice. Back at the studio, the atmosphere was charged with a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. The final broadcast of the series had aired, but the conversations it had sparked were far from over. Imani and her team were already planning follow-up coverage, determined to keep the momentum going. Imani's phone buzzed with a message from Jasmine, who had been a constant source of support throughout the process. "Proud of you, Imani. Let's celebrate soon," it read, bringing a smile to Imani's face. The support from friends and colleagues had been invaluable, reminding Imani that she was not alone in her fight for change. Together, they had created something meaningful, and she was eager to continue building on their success. As Imani settled into her office, she was greeted by Lisa, whose expression was a mix of excitement and pride. "Imani, the feedback from the series has been incredible," Lisa said, her eyes shining. "We've received messages from viewers across the country, thanking you for your work." Imani felt a surge of gratitude, knowing that their efforts had resonated with so many. "That's wonderful to hear," she replied. "It's a testament to the power of storytelling and the importance of amplifying these voices." Lisa nodded, her expression thoughtful. "We're already receiving inquiries about what's next. People are eager to see where we take this." Imani considered the possibilities, her mind racing with ideas. There was still so much to explore, from systemic inequalities to grassroots movements driving change. The potential was limitless, and she was ready to dive in. Later that day, Imani received a call from Sarah at Elegance Cooter. "Imani, I wanted to thank you again for your partnership," Sarah said, her voice warm. "The community event was a success, and we've seen a positive shift in our customer base. People are more engaged and supportive than ever." Imani was heartened by the news, grateful for the impact their collaboration had made. "That's wonderful to hear, Sarah. I'm glad to have been a part of it. We're planning more events and initiatives," Sarah continued, "and we'd love to have you involved. Your voice has been instrumental in driving this change." Imani felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that their efforts had borne fruit. "I'd be happy to continue working together," she replied. "There's still so much we can do." As the day drew to a close, Imani reflected on the journey she had undertaken. The challenges had been significant, but the rewards were even greater. She had found her voice, and with it, the power to inspire change. That evening, as Imani sat on her balcony, overlooking the city she loved, she felt a sense of peace and purpose. The road ahead was still uncertain, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay in her path. Her phone buzzed with a call from Jasmine, who was eager to celebrate their successes. "Hey, Imani, let's grab dinner and toast to everything you've accomplished," Jasmine suggested, her voice filled with excitement. Imani smiled, grateful for Jasmine's unwavering support. "I'd love that. Let's meet at our favorite place." As they settled into their booth at the restaurant, Imani and Jasmine recounted the journey, from the initial series pitch to the final broadcast. Laughter and camaraderie filled the air, a testament to the bond they shared. "You've done amazing work, Imani," Jasmine said, raising her glass in a toast. "Here's to more stories and more change." Imani clinked her glass with Jasmine's, feeling a sense of gratitude and hope. "To more stories and more change," she echoed, her heart full. The evening was a celebration of friendship, resilience, and the power of storytelling to drive change. Imani felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to continue her work and make an even greater impact. As the night wore on, Imani reflected on the lessons she had learned. The journey had taught her the importance of perseverance, the value of community, and the power of using her voice to advocate for justice. The next morning, Imani returned to the studio, invigorated by the possibilities that lay ahead. The series had been a success, but there was still much work to be done. She was ready to continue the fight for equality, one story at a time. The newsroom buzzed with activity as Imani prepared for the day's broadcast. Her team was already hard at work, fueled by the momentum they had built. Imani felt a sense of camaraderie and purpose, knowing that they were all united in their mission. As the cameras rolled, Imani spoke with conviction, her voice steady and clear. She thanked her viewers for their support and encouraged them to continue the conversation, to keep fighting for a more just and equitable world. As the broadcast ended, Imani felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had faced the challenges head-on, and she was ready to continue the fight for justice and equality, one story at a time. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Imani was ready to face whatever challenges lay in her path. Her journey had just begun, and she was determined to make a difference. With a heart full of hope and determination, Imani Carter stepped into the future, ready to continue her work and inspire change. The power of storytelling was limitless, and she was eager to see where it would take her next. You've made it to the end. If you enjoyed this story, I am confident that you'll love the next one appearing on the screen now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and please give this video a like. I'll see you in the next one.